Close your eyes and allow yourself to sink into this moment of profound awakening, because the most magnetic women throughout history have discovered something that you're about to integrate into your very essence, haven't they? As you breathe deeply and let your consciousness expand, you might notice how your feminine energy naturally begins to stir and awaken, and I'm curious about which aspects of your seductive power are already beginning to emerge from the depths of your being right now. Have you ever watched a panther move through the jungle? She doesn't question her power. She doesn't apologize for her presence. She simply embodies the raw, primal energy that makes everything around her pause and take notice. The sooner you recognize that this same magnetic force flows through your veins, the sooner you'll discover that seduction isn't something you do. It's something you are when you fully embrace your feminine essence. I wonder if you can feel the truth of this settling into your cells right now. Some people discover that when they tap into their dark feminine energy, something profound shifts in how they move through the world. You don't have to force yourself to feel seductive, but your unconscious mind already knows that feminine power is your birthright. That desire is your natural magnetism, that your very presence can shift the energy of any room you enter. Let me tell you about Isabella. Though her story could be any woman's story, couldn't it? Isabella had spent years dimming her light, making herself smaller, apologizing for taking up space. She had been taught that good women don't embrace their sexuality, that femininity should be soft and accommodating, that seduction was somehow shameful. But one day, Isabella discovered something that changed everything. She learned that her feminine energy wasn't something to hide. It was her greatest source of power. Within just days of embracing her dark feminine essence, Isabella began to notice something remarkable. Men looked at her differently. Women respected her more. She moved with a confidence that seemed to emanate from her very core. She discovered that when she stopped apologizing for her sensuality and started celebrating it, the entire world responded to her magnetic presence. What happened next might surprise you, but it probably won't surprise your deeper knowing, because your deeper knowing already remembers what it means to be a woman who owns her power. The question isn't whether you're naturally seductive, but how quickly you'll allow yourself to embody the magnetic feminine energy that's been waiting within you all along. Because when you truly understand that your femininity is not weakness, but profound strength, you begin to move through the world with a presence that commands attention without demanding it. As you continue to relax and absorb these truths, you might wonder how it feels to know that every breath you take can be an act of seduction. Every movement can be a dance of feminine power. Have you realized yet how your body is like a temple that houses the most ancient and powerful energy in the universe? When you honor your feminine essence, when you embrace your capacity for desire and desirability, you're connecting with the same force that moves the tides and makes flowers bloom. I'm not going to tell you to feel seductive right now, but you might find yourself naturally sinking into a more sensual awareness because something inside you recognizes that this is your true nature. You already know that when you embrace your sexuality, you embrace your power, that when you celebrate your femininity, you celebrate your magic, that when you embody your dark feminine energy, you become irresistible. Think about this for a moment. Every goddess throughout history, every woman who has captured hearts and changed the world has understood something that you're remembering right now. They knew that feminine energy is not gentle and accommodating. It's fierce and consuming. It's the force that creates life, that inspires art, that drives men to build empires and write poetry. You may not be aware of it yet, but this same energy is awakening within you, waiting for your permission to emerge. Here's an interesting thing about feminine magnetism. It's not about what you wear or how you look. It's about how you feel about yourself. When you move through the world knowing that you are a sexual being, that you are desired, that you are powerful, your energy field shifts in ways that others can feel before they even see you. You become a magnet for attention, admiration, and desire. Speaking of energy fields, have you ever noticed how some women seem to effortlessly attract whatever they want, while others struggle to get noticed? The difference isn't beauty or youth, it's embodiment. Those who consistently magnetize desire have discovered the secret that you're about to integrate into your cellular memory. They've learned to inhabit their bodies fully, to move from their feminine center, to embrace their sexuality as sacred power. By the way, let me share with you what happens in your energy when you shift from hiding your femininity to celebrating it. This transformation creates what tantric practitioners call Shakti activation. And when you embody this state, you become a living invitation to desire. Isn't it interesting how such a simple shift from shame to celebration can transform your entire presence? You might be wondering why some women seem to naturally embody their seductive power while others feel disconnected from their sexuality. Well, when you believe that your desires are shameful, that your sexuality is something to hide, you're actually repressing the very force that makes you magnetic. But when you honor your erotic nature as sacred, when you celebrate your capacity for pleasure, you're activating the most powerful energy in the universe. I can sense that you're beginning to understand something profound about your own feminine power. You're the kind of woman who recognizes truth when it resonates in your womb, aren't you? And right now, you're being reminded of a truth you've always known, but perhaps forgotten. You are a goddess incarnate, and your very existence is an act of seduction. Let me ask you this. What would happen if, starting right now, you began to move through the world knowing that you are desired, that you are magnetic, that you are a living embodiment of feminine power? How would your walk change? How would your voice shift? How would your entire presence transform when you know with absolute certainty that you are irresistible? The sooner you embrace this knowing, the sooner you'll discover that seduction becomes as natural as breathing, that desire follows you like a shadow, that your feminine energy becomes a force that others can't help but respond to. Because when you truly embody your dark feminine essence, you're not just attractive, you're magnetic in ways that transcend the physical. Have you ever watched a skilled dancer? She doesn't perform the movements, she becomes them. Her body flows with the music as if she and the rhythm are one. Your feminine energy works the same way. When you stop performing femininity and start embodying it, when you let your sexuality flow through you like music, you become poetry in motion. I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but seductive women think differently about their own power. They don't see their sexuality as something to be given away or hidden. They see it as something to be celebrated and shared from a place of strength. When you understand that your erotic energy is your life force energy, you begin to treat it with the reverence it deserves. As you continue to breathe deeply and integrate these understandings, you might notice something shifting in your body awareness. Perhaps you're beginning to feel more connected to your curves, more aware of your sensuality, more in touch with the primal feminine energy that courses through your veins. Perhaps you're discovering that seduction isn't something you have to learn, it's something you need to remember. Something tells me you're the kind of woman who doesn't just read about feminine power, you embody it. You're the kind of woman who recognizes that your sexuality is not separate from your spirituality, it's an expression of it. You already know this, even if you haven't fully acknowledged it yet. Let me tell you about Sophia, whose transformation might awaken your own feminine remembering. Sophia had spent years trying to be the perfect woman, the one who never made waves, who never expressed her desires too boldly, who kept her sexuality carefully contained. She had been taught that good women were modest, that seduction was manipulation, that feminine power was dangerous. But one day Sophia had a profound realization. Sophia understood that by hiding her feminine essence, she wasn't protecting anyone. She was depriving the world of her gifts. She began to embrace her sexuality as sacred, to move her body with intention, to speak her desires with confidence. She stopped apologizing for taking up space and started celebrating her right to be seen, desired, and wanted. Within weeks, Sophia began to experience what she called magnetic presence. Men who had never noticed her before began to seek her attention. Women who had dismissed her started asking for her advice. She discovered that when she stopped trying to be acceptable and started being authentic, her natural magnetism became impossible to ignore. Why? Because she had aligned with her true feminine power. You might be wondering how this story relates to you, and the answer is simple. Right now, in this moment, you're standing at the same threshold Sophia stood at. You have the same choice she had. You can continue to hide your feminine fire, or you can let it burn bright for all the world to see. The question isn't whether you're naturally seductive, but how quickly you'll allow yourself to embody the magnetic energy that's been waiting within you all along. Because when you embrace your dark feminine essence, when you celebrate your sexuality as sacred power, you don't just become attractive, you become a force of nature. Here's what I find fascinating about feminine magnetism. It's not about following rules or techniques. It's about breaking free from all the conditioning that has kept you small and safe. When you give yourself permission to be fully expressed, fully sexual, fully alive, you tap into an energy that has been moving through women since the beginning of time. As you continue to relax and absorb these concepts, you might notice how natural it feels to imagine yourself moving through the world with complete confidence in your desirability. You might notice how powerful it feels to think about owning your sexuality without apology. You might even notice how your body feels more alive just thinking about embracing your full feminine essence. Have you realized yet how your feminine energy creates a gravitational field around you? When you truly embody your seductive power, you don't have to chase desire, it chases you. You don't have to prove your worth, your presence proves it. You don't have to convince anyone of your magnetism, they feel it the moment you enter their awareness. I'm curious about which aspects of your feminine awakening are already beginning to crystallize in your consciousness as you listen to these words. Perhaps you're beginning to feel the stirring of your primal feminine energy. Perhaps you're starting to remember what it feels like to be a woman who knows her power. Perhaps you're recognizing that seduction has always been your birthright. You just needed permission to claim it. You don't have to force yourself to feel seductive, but you might find yourself naturally sinking into a more sensual awareness because something inside you remembers what it means to be a woman who owns her magnetism. You already know that when you embrace your sexuality, you embrace your power, that when you celebrate your femininity, you celebrate your magic. Let me share with you one final story about a woman named Luna who discovered something remarkable about her own magnetic power. Luna had always been told to be careful, to not be too much, to keep her sexuality in check. For years, she lived in this constrained reality, believing that her desires were dangerous, that her femininity was something to be managed rather than celebrated. But one day, Luna made a decision that changed everything. Luna decided to honor her feminine essence as sacred. She began to move her body with intention, to dress in ways that made her feel powerful, to speak her desires without shame. She stopped trying to be what others expected and started being who she truly was. She embraced her dark, feminine energy as a gift to the world. What happened next was nothing short of transformational. Luna discovered that her authentic feminine power was magnetic in ways she had never imagined. She attracted opportunities, relationships, and experiences that aligned with her true desires. She found that when she stopped hiding her light and started letting it shine, the entire world responded to her radiance. Now, as you prepare to return to full awareness, you might notice something interesting happening in your energy field. You might notice that you're already beginning to feel more connected to your feminine power. You might notice that you're already beginning to embody a more seductive presence. You might notice that confidence and magnetism are naturally arising from within you. You may not be aware of it yet, but your unconscious mind has already begun to integrate this new relationship with your feminine essence. It's already preparing to help you move through the world with magnetic presence. It's already beginning to remind you that you are desired, that you are powerful, that you are irresistible. The sooner you embrace your identity as a seductive woman, the sooner you'll discover that desire follows you wherever you go, that your very presence becomes an invitation to passion, that your feminine energy becomes a force that others can't help but respond to. Because when you truly embody your dark feminine essence, you're not just attractive, you're magnetic. As you begin to stir and become more alert, you might notice how natural it feels to inhabit your body with confidence. You might notice how powerful you feel about your ability to attract what you desire. You might notice how aligned you feel with the primal feminine energy that flows through all women who know their worth. When you're ready, you can open your eyes, knowing that you've just activated a new program in your consciousness. A program that automatically embodies seductive energy, a program that naturally magnetizes desire, a program that transforms you from a woman who hides her power into a woman who radiates magnetic feminine energy. Your seductive power is not something you have to earn or prove. It's something you are when you fully embrace your feminine essence. Your magnetism is not dependent on external validation. It's dependent on your willingness to honor your sexuality as sacred. Your desirability is not contingent on perfection. It's contingent on your authentic embodiment of feminine power. You are a goddess incarnate, and your very existence is an act of seduction. You are desired, you are magnetic, you are powerful. Feel that truth settling into your body, into your cells, into your very essence. You are woman, and that alone makes you irresistible. The dark feminine energy that flows through you is the same energy that has inspired art, started wars, and created empires. It's the force that makes flowers bloom and hearts race. And right now, it's awakening within you, ready to be expressed in all its magnificent power.